Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about utilizing natural light as opposed to artificial light as your key light source for an interview. Not too long ago I posted a video on how I lit an interview on a video I made utilizing the Aperture 120D and the Softbox Light Dome 2, which is what I'm using right now to light me. And yeah, that's obviously artificial light and it looks great, and yeah, there's no complaints about it. But there are some cases where you may not be able to use artificial light, and there's all kinds of reasons, like maybe location, like you're hiking up a mountain, can't carry it, or resources, maybe you just can't afford it, or time. And that was kind of the case for me when I shot this interview a few weeks ago, was just simply time. I didn't have the time to set up the lighting. I had a grand total of about 30 minutes during an all-day shoot to conduct this interview, and that was everything from finding a new location for this interview to obviously lighting, audio, setting up camera, positioning, all that kind of stuff, as well as conducting the interview. So about as run and gun as you can get with doing an interview. So with that being said, I was a one-man band. I didn't have a lot of time. I didn't have any hands really to carry the lighting and all that kind of stuff, because I had my tripod and my camera and lenses and audio and all that kind of stuff already on me, and that was pretty much all I could carry. So in the essence of time, in respect for time for the client and for the talent, I decided to forego using any kind of artificial lighting. With the exception of hair light, and we'll go into that in a second. But for the key light, I decided to forego any kind of artificial light and just use natural light. So I found a location that kind of fit the storyline, kind of fit the whole feel and mood of the video, and as well as had a big window. Now, I don't have a footage like I did last time where I can kind of go around and talk about the different lights and all that kind of stuff and turn them on and off and show how those each impact the image. I do have one screen grab that shows the room and kind of shows the window and how that looks. That being said, let's just go ahead and jump into it and talk about the key light at first, because that's the kind of main part of the interview lighting setup and kind of the whole topic of this video. And the key light was this big giant window in this room, and that's all I used. Fortunately, that day, for the most part, was overcast and all that, so there really wasn't any worry about light changing throughout the course of the interview. And that is something you have to keep note of when using natural light, is if you're conducting an interview, especially over a long period of time, or conducting multiple interviews. If you're using natural light, that is something that you have to consider, especially if there's clouds in the sky and it's passing over the sun, then your exposure will change. Fortunately for me, that wasn't really an issue, and I knew that, within my 30-minute time slot, I was probably only going to realistically have about 10 to 12 minutes of actually conducting the interview, and the question list was pretty short. So I knew that the changing of light probably wasn't going to really be all that much of an issue. So with that being said, I set the subject, the talent, about 5 to 6 feet off of the window, and what that allowed me to do, because it was pretty bright, I was able to expose for the skin tones, bring her closer to the light source, so I could expose to the skin tones and kind of bring the exposure of the rest of the room down. The way I set her up is I positioned her to kind of face a little bit at an angle to the window, kind of having the window almost at like a 45 degree. And what that did is, number one, she was kind of facing this way and kind of looking off camera, talking to me. That's where I was conducting the interview. And what that allowed me to do was kind of get that little Rembrandt triangle on the side of her face, on the shadow side of her face, and just kind of creates more character and dimension to the interview, and it just adds an overall pleasing look. Now, the way that I positioned the camera, I was able to kind of interview her with kind of the shadow side of her face, but it wasn't too extreme, just because I didn't want it to look too overly cinematic or anything like that. So the next thing that I did to kind of fill in exposure a little bit on the side of her face, because that highlight roll-off was actually pretty aggressive into the shadows on the side of her face, I used a 501 reflector and just kind of bounced the light back up from the floor, basically, and kind of lifted the exposure under her chin and on the side of her face right here, and really what that did is just kind of balanced out the contrast a little bit more, just so it wasn't so contrasty and so moody looking. And then the next thing I did is I turned the lamp on, this little practical, just to kind of add a little bit of character and depth to the overall scene, and just kind of make it feel homey feeling. And yeah, that was the idea with this whole interview, was to just kind of make it welcoming, and so all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it turned out looking really well. And then the last thing I've done, and this is kind of a lesson learned for me with this hair light right here. Initially I had thought about using it on the other side, set it up tungsten to kind of use this practical as a motivating light. However, just because of time and because I didn't have any C-stands or anything to kind of to put the light over here, I put it over here, and I kind of wish now I would have set that up to be a little bit cooler of a hair light. What it does do is there's a little bit on her shoulder right here, and then on her hair, and what that does is it just kind of separates from the background. And the one benefit of it being tungsten colored was the way that this natural light, daylight falling onto it, it's nice and blue. It does add a little bit of color contrast to the overall scene, and that's kind of what the practical is doing there. But I kind of like with hair lights and stuff like that, I kind of like there still be some sort of motivating light. Like right now when I'm filming, I have a light above me that's kind of hair light, and that's kind of you know, rim light, but I have this door open right here, you can see, I'm using the monitor, have this door open right here, and this window is kind of acting like a motivating light for this hair light, so it's actually creating some separation. That light back there is not really actually doing anything to add any kind of hair light or rim light to me, but I can use that as a motivating light and use this light above me as the actual light source, and then the light behind the actual window light is kind of a motivating light. So yeah, a little bit kind of rambling on there, but hopefully some of this information was helpful or useful to you. I'm actually really happy with the way that the look of this interview turned out. Anyways, if you found it helpful, useful, anything like that, definitely leave a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and then right next to it there's a notification bell, and if you hit that, then you kind of get notified, I think somewhere, email or something, that I actually make a video. Now, so if you like really want to see my videos, hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I make videos, and then you'll be really happy, and you can be part of that notification team or notification squad or whatever it's called. Anyways, if you're still here and you have nothing to say with regards to lighting or anything like that, that's cool, but you want to still leave a comment, I got you. So we're gonna answer another question at the end of the video, kind of making this a thing, it's kind of fun. So, are you a coffee or a tea drinker? And you can say both, I'm both. I like them at different times of the day. But some people like coffee, some people like tea. Let me know in the comments down below what you prefer. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. I appreciate it. As always, I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.